a minute, hasn't it?
It has. Good to see you too, KK. How are things going?
Well, we got a lot to talk about. There's been so much going on in our space of diversity and inclusion with you. So anyways, everyone, welcome to What the Sis. We back, y'all. We back. Who's going to kick it off?
Okay, I can kick it off. So, yes. Well, first of all, as KK said, welcome to What This Is. Please do subscribe to our video channel or subscribe to our podcast on Anchor or Spotify or our YouTube channel, What This Is, where you can subscribe, or you can also email us on kkandlau@gmail.com. If you have any question, input, we'd love to hear from you. So thank you for listening. I want to kick it off talking about, we talked so much about white privilege. I want to introduce another one. I want to talk about straight privilege. So
straight privilege, as in not gay,
not gay,
and hetero.
Yes, yes.
Hetero privilege. Okay, this is interesting.
Yes, because I came across an article this morning and had you know, an exciting conversation with a family member about this because and often this is not based on prejudice or anything. It's really based on lack of understanding. Like a lot of white privileges as well, a lot of people don't understand and recognize the white privilege because it's always been like that and they haven't walked in someone else's shoe. Yeah. And I'm experiencing a little bit the same on when it comes to sexual identity. I experience really a lot of straight privilege, and even surprisingly, I'm also even experience it a bit from the gay community itself. Right now, there are a lot of movements around sexual identity, and people want to be called, pronouns and so on. And I read an opinion piece in a Danish newspaper from someone who's a member of the LGBT community themselves, and actually kind of discussing whether we should call a trans woman a woman. There has actually been a lot of pushback even from lesbians who don't want some of the trans community to be called trans women because they do not presume. So we even experience this bias within our own community.
So let me interrupt. So are you saying that say lesbians, some lesbians are against trans women being called women or trans women? Oh, okay.
And so, but these are of course small fraction in the bigger conversation, but there is a tendency. It was just really frustrating because my kind of takeout is, one of the key things from this article was to say, I see two genders, man or female, and you might say, well, I want to be a woman even if I'm born with male genitalia, and I see it like that. I see that you have male genitalia, so I'm going to call you a man even if you want to be called a woman.
That's not nice.
And I just find that so upsetting because,
right,
what an arrogance to demand the right to put someone else down without understanding their journey, their identity, and refusing to acknowledge the way they feel because you don't want to change.
Right. I'm going to interject here. I was listening to Dr. Jordan Peterson before Dr. Peterson had a real bad kind of trip on drug addiction and coming off of pharmaceuticals. Anyways, and he became very big in Canada. If you don't know, he's a Canadian academic and writer of, I think it's Rules for Life or 12 Rules for Life. I really enjoyed the book. There's parts that maybe like I thought a little bit antiquated kind of vibe here. Some people saw it as a bit of misogyny in there as well. I could see his point of view, whatever. But he had a big thing in Canada because he refused, and I guess it must have been a trans woman. He refused to accept, I think it was some, I don't know if it was legislation that happened there, and he refused to be told he had to use the pronouns. He didn't like the law dictating to him. Now,
mm,
he did say, if that person wants me to respond to them in that way, he was willing to do it, but he was more arguing against the law because he felt that it infringed on his rights. Now, the issue with this is that I see the infringing on a person's right angle. We could see that angle, and you can argue that till the cows come home. But I also think, is there something inside of Dr. Peterson or whoever that feels like they're being infringed upon? Is there really a certain level of not accepting a person's right to be referred to in the way that they want it? You know what I'm saying? So who's right here? So this hetero
this is
privilege,
for
this
me.
straight privilege
Yeah, this
carry on.
is back to where is your empathy lies.
Yeah,
Where is your empathy? Empathy, not in the sense of saying I feel sorry for you. That's not what I'm talking about. Empathy in terms of understanding
yeah,
someone else where they come from.
that's right.
And I just find it so surprising that we would be stubbornly standing on a ground and demanding to call somebody else something other than what they identify with.
Yeah.
What are we losing in this? What are we losing? We're not
What
losing
are we
anything,
losing?
but that person is losing their identity every time we're refusing to call them by what they really want to identify with.
Yeah.
It is a bullying and a prejudice
Mm,
way
big,
of addressing someone who has struggled their whole life to find their identity and then finding themselves that other people are refusing to accept and acknowledge them as how they feel. It's a notion to say that your identity is based on your physical appearance and completely neglecting the emotional and psychological aspect of your identity
yeah. And the impact,
and
you
the
know,
impact that
the
it has.
impact. It's
And
like it's like, if your child was going through something like that, and
yes,
and the suffering and the pain that they're going through,
yes,
and the world is treating them like that,
yeah,
how would you feel? You know what I mean? It's like Dr. Peterson, your son and daughter happen to be hetero and hetero identified. So but
yes,
what if they weren't, and what if they were
yeah,
trans? How would you feel? How would you
exactly.
feel the world is looking at them? There was another, your doppelganger, Dr. Peterson B, is
Yeah.
saying what he's saying, and your child is suffering. Get out of here. It's
Hmm.
wrong. It's
Yeah.
absolutely wrong. Finish telling us what happened.
So the thing is that then, I end up, a family member sends me this view. It's kind of like, yeah, because we've had debates about this, trying to understand
Mm.
other people who are identifying them in another um, format than we are used to. And I'm struggling a lot with a lot of these, the straight society who really wants it's a funny thing that you are demanding to be able to call somebody else something that is offensive to them or is degrading to them. And for somebody who have come such a long way to find themselves as, for instance, a trans a woman or a trans man, and then refusing to acknowledge them in that is a damaging to them.
It's
It
me.
plays, and the reason why I react to this as well is because this is the same thing that we also, just as gay people, have gone through as well, struggling to accept that people accept that this is not a choice. It's
Right,
not a choice. It is
right.
something that's there. We need to, then what's left is to what do we do about it? How do we treat it? We can't say that, oh, I really don't understand it. It's a man to me. It's not
Mm.
our job to this. This
What
is
you don't understand? What don't you understand?
what
Are
is
you
it
just
from?
playing stupid? Do you know what I mean? No, let's just look at it what it is.
Yeah,
You're being stupid on purpose at someone else's expense.
yeah,
Oh, I just don't. You know what? I'm going to say this, right? It may take you an adjustment. I have a trans woman friend. It took me an adjustment because I met her as a man, and
Mm,
as she's now chosen to transition, it took me a moment. I slipped in calling her male name.
exactly.
Now I don't,
No.
because it was like, okay, and then my friend would say, oh, she, and it was like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It just takes a minute,
And
just
you
takes
know
a
what?
minute to care about another person and then make that change within yourself. I'm not saying, it's going to be an easy thing, because you got to start changing behavior, the mind. You have to start making readjustments, and you've been so used to being a certain way. I have an understanding of that. But when you make it an issue, when you send argumentative posts and or articles, and you write these things, you're stuck on stupid, and you're antiquated in your thinking,
Yeah.
and you need to sit in the room and learn something.
Yeah. It's disappointing because it
Absolutely.
shows us a complete lack of empathy for
Mm.
someone who's walking in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, in terms of the race. I can't tell what it would be to be walking in a black person's shoes. I can't say how that really feels, but I can show that I'm trying to understand, and I can show respect for, that journey and how you wish to be addressed and all this stuff. And now finding that people coming out and refusing to address people by their pronouns that they wish to be received, to me is a little bit of the same of, I want to have the right to use the N word because I'm not racist. Well, you know what? They think it's racist, so that is racist. It's not you to decide that. And
Yeah.
so it's just, and it's interesting because we've been talking a little bit about this, the exterior diversity and interior diversity and the different journeys that we have.
That's right.
You as a black person have experienced your family being subjected to prejudice at a young age and all this stuff very like present
Yeah.
and
And being a bisexual woman, and I only came out to the world not long ago,
yeah,
being a bisexual woman, and as a young woman, not being able to own who I am because of external, how the world viewed me. And
yeah,
when I think back to that me at 20 years old, trying to find my way and make sense of who I am, that nearly destroyed me. It really did. It
yeah,
was, I would say, and I'm saying it here, it was, I, at 21 years old, I was in such pain for many things in my life. I took a load of pills one night and decided it was over.
mm,
So that compounding with my sexuality, trying to work that out, and being targeted by a family member saying, oh, you can't be that way, you're going to go to hell. Losing my mother 5 years before, 6 years before, as a 16, 5 years before, as a 16-year-old, you know, it's like people need to understand the
yeah,
emotional impact it has on people, the way you, because you refuse. And when people refuse and then they put it in a public space, there's a woman, I can't think of her name, she's got a real big problem with trans women.
mm,
She really feels like trans women are threatening with womanhood, and
yeah,
it's a horrible thing. And she's been given a platform to run her big mouth. And
mm,
you know what? If her child decides they want to be trans, or they want to transition, or if they decide that they are gay and that's who they are, you know what? Then you'll know.
yeah,
You'll know. And
exactly.
it's sick that we live in a society where people are given platforms to
Mm,
communicate this stuff. But at the same time, I always say, when Trump said he was going to drain the swamp, I love that. He's going to drain the swamp. Well, you know what? The swamp is being drained, and we are seeing the racists and the bigots sitting in the mud. We see.
yeah, yeah,
So that's
yeah.
who they are.
It's just
Even our
it,
loved ones. Even our loved ones.
even I mean, and it was upsetting that I needed to, convey this, understand their maybe their own, perceptions stopped at, me being gay, right? Okay, we'll stretch it that far. But really, it is not just for me. It is a general perception of saying that people have the right to be identified as who they are. It is really not a right. We are not losing anything by acknowledging
Hey,
someone else who's different.
hey, hey, they, them. What is the freaking problem?
It's not a problem at
What's
all.
wrong
It's
with
not
you?
really a problem. Who is having a problem with someone else being something else? Like, why is that a problem? And the reason why this is, you know, it's upsetting because we have right now in the UK, we're debating whether conversion therapy should be banned.
Mm,
Conversion therapy is one of the most cruel um, exercises that have been imposed on gay people. It's torture. It's emotional torture that we are allowing for people to be subjected to.
can you explain what conversion therapy is for
So
people that
conversion
are listening?
therapy, and I want to, for anyone who wants to learn about this, I really want to recommend everyone to watch the movie Boy Erased with Nicole Kidman.
I haven't seen that yet.
It's a great movie that shows that is about conversions therapy. Conversions therapy now is increasingly being banned in more and more countries because it's starting to acknowledge the devastating psychological effect it has on people.
Mm,
It usually comes from a very religious offspring or foundation that you through different kind of therapies and religious
ritual.
submissions will cure the gay, you know,
Mm,
uh, and pray the gay away, kind of. That's
right.
the thing. And what is happening with these people is that they are already very vulnerable because they've probably grown up in a very conservative society, so they're already struggling with their own identity, and then being subjective to this conversion therapy is so damaging to their self-worth and their identity that we've seen many people committing suicide afterwards or being completely torn apart and ruined afterwards. And
Mm,
it is a cruel and modern form of torture that is being allowed in primarily religious society and groups. And it is just astonishing that it is being allowed by the governments and hasn't been banned already. It is
so
increasingly being banned in more and more countries now, but that it still exists, and it's even a debate is just
you know,
disheartening for these people.
when you think of you grow up in your family and you think you're safe. That's your safety. Your home should be your safety. Your parents should be your safety.
Yeah,
And then you having certain feelings
yeah.
for the same sex, or you feel yourself as being in the wrong sex.
And this is the
And then
difference sometimes on this with diversity, is that for with sexual identity and stuff, this journey is it's such a tough journey that you're taking alone because you don't even have your family understanding you.
right, right. And
You
then your family sits there and they recognize, they see something in you, and then they say it's a demon spirit. I grew up in a Christian,
spirit, we don't
I grew
understand.
up in a Christian, what we call like a Christian evangelical household.
Yeah,
So that would have been a demon spirit inside of you, and it needs to be exorcised, basically.
exactly.
And that would be, say, like a Catholic family, but so same kind of difference.
Mm.
And it's so sad because, oh,
It's
my heart
it's a
breaks,
huge
like
damage to
the
these people.
torture, the
Yeah,
torture,
yeah.
you
And
know?
for me, this just doesn't, and this was why it was upsetting because I know that gays and lesbians and are increasingly being accepted, but there's still a long way to go. And it's not just about, oh, well, let's us be accepted, we are right. No, we need to accept people in general for what identity they want to express. And yes, it might be a kind of a butch lady come walking down the street, but if this guy wants to be a woman and addressed as a woman and feels like a woman, it should be a woman to us. we should not force our own prejudice and lack of understanding onto this person, because this is really damaging.
It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And well done you for correcting and teaching people in your family. I always, you know me, I love a teachable moment, you know,
It's
even when it pisses you off, even when it hurts.
yeah, it requires a lot, sometimes a lot of, deep breath and acceptance that that is an opportunity to educate further. And this is what we talked about some in a previous episode. This sometimes, you get exhausted of continuously having to educate people. But I think we just need to own that's that's the cards we've been given.
Right. That's right. I do a show called Work Tales um, on LinkedIn, that post on LinkedIn with the company Ezra that I work for, and I had Dr. Simon Western on there. He's an academic, and does I think it's called Analytic Coaching is his company,
Yeah,
and he talks about eco leadership. And we were having a discussion offline, but still online on Zoom, and we were talking, and I said, isn't it so tiring sometimes?
mm,
You're on this mission, and it's so exhausting. You can go 5 steps and then you're knocked down one or two, or you're just knocked down
yeah,
because there's so much power in resistance,
yeah.
right? Resistance, when you get a collective resisting change, it is so challenging. It's like wearing weights in a swimming pool. You're trying to weigh, but you weigh down. You really can't move through,
Yeah.
but at the same time, isn't it worth it?
It is worth it. It is worth it. And we need to drive. We have such a momentum at the moment to drive for a better, more empathic worldview. And we have to accept that we need to take part in that journey,
Yeah.
and when I talk straight privilege, there's so many things that, when we talk white privilege, there's a white people, me included, there's a lot of things that I don't understand because I haven't been aware of it. I never noticed it. I never thought about that. I never get stopped in customs when I'm going through the airport, you know,
Right.
because that's just my lens that I'm watching the world through. And through my understanding, through the conversation, understand that that is not how everyone feels. And the
That's
same comes when you talk about straight privilege. Straights don't understand that we're not always recognized in our marriage, that we not always have equal legal terms, that we not necessarily can't expect that we can form a family or adopt because we're not perceived as good as parents.
Mm.
Basically that must be it, because and there are a lot of countries that are not accepting, the majority of countries are not accepting same-sex adoption. That would then, how does that feel? It feels like they think that we would still be worse than leaving a child at an orphanage,
Right.
right? We are not, as gay people, are not allowed to donate blood.
What?
They're coming in more legislation now that are trying to eliminate this, but the
I
predominant
didn't know. I'm
part
sorry.
of
I have
us,
to stop you right there. Are
we are
you?
not allowed to donate blood.
You are not in what country?
Predominantly all countries. It is slowly moving, but then it is putting up barriers to say that you have to have had no sexual partners for the last 3 or 4 months, or all these things. It is still such a prejudiced view of the gay society versus the straight society. It's the
Mm,
same view saying, that the HIV is a gay disease. It's
mm,
rubbish.
no.
Predominantly of the new people who are getting HIV now are straight people, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is straight privilege. This is expecting that you can go down and just donate blood if you want to.
Right.
because you want to help society.
So you don't get to help society because you're a gay man.
Yes, you're not welcome in that club. It is upsetting. I have a very dear friend of mine who are in a very sticky situation in a country with his partner where they are not where same-sex marriages is not accepted or
Yeah.
not legal, and they are now looking for a way to get back to Europe, but they are struggling to figure out how they can get back because their marriage is not recognized in all the countries, right? This is something you expect that you as a straight person, you can just fly back and then you can ask to get your partner to come in as well. And and this is not something we as gay or lesbian that you can expect. You cannot expect as a trans person that you are recognized
Right.
officially in official papers. How many times are you coming across when you are having to fill in a legal form that you have to choose between man or woman, right?
See, we don't think in depth about this unless we're walking in those shoes.
No,
Like you say, I don't know what it's like to be a Black woman. I will never know. You try to understand. Well, the same thing for me. I might be a bisexual woman, but I'm not, a lesbian or gay man or trans woman or trans man, right? So I
mm,
don't have those experiences, which then go into the legal side of things,
no.
right? KK's could choose a woman. I'm a woman. I'm a Black woman. I go right. It's easy. It's easy for me. That's
But people don't
straight.
think
That what
about,
is considered that straight privilege,
exactly. They don't
right?
think about that they
You
have
know,
to consider where they go on travel because is it gay friendly where they go travel?
right? I want to see the world, but we better be safe. Because I
Exactly.
might hold your hand, I might kiss you because I'm so excited because I'm on a holiday, and I got to be careful because
Great privilege is walking down the pedestrian street with your boyfriend or girlfriend hand in hand. That's straight privilege.
yeah,
People don't think about that gay and lesbians or sexual minorities do not feel comfortable about this.
I see it. I
Straight
see
privilege
it.
is being open on bringing your wife to a company dinner. That's straight privilege. You assume that that is just what we do, and you assume that that other person next to you is just coming by himself because he's single. Yeah.
I heard someone say, or was I having a conversation, or heard someone say, they said something to the effect of, why are trans people kind of talking so loud so much right now when the percentage of trans is very minute. I don't know the exact number, so I don't want to throw it out there, but it's
Mm.
very, very minute. It's like, why are they making this such a big deal? Why is this being shown on television so much? Why is it? It's like, okay, so you make up a small percentage, so we don't want to see you. Well, I'm going to tell you like this, why it matters, because we're here. People are here, and everybody should have a platform. It's like here in the UK, I think it's the population of Black people is 3% in the UK. And I've seen it. I've seen how I very rarely see me on a TV screen and on the news. If a Black woman is on the BBC, she's got her straight weave or her wig, right? Because heaven forbid, she come on with an afro. Oh my God, what would that be like,
Yeah.
right? And you don't see you very rarely in the 20 years I've been living in this country, you barely see television shows with Black people on it where they're the whole star, and it's like they might have had something in the 70s, 80s or something, but where it's their show, and you're having the Black experience like everybody else. Like, can I have a drama? Can I have a TV show? Something to see that, you know, they will put a light-skinned Black woman, or they'll put a mixed race Black woman or man, and they'll say that represents in their mind because it's more palatable,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And that's some bullshit. It's like you'll put a gay man on the screen and he's completely flamboyant,
Yeah.
right? My flamboyant gay friends are there more in the creative arts. And anyone
Mm.
in the creative arts, we're pretty all flamboyant any freaking way, right? But what they'll do is they'll make it extreme. They'll make
Yeah.
it extreme.
Yeah.
and I should say they'll stereotype, you know?
Yeah.
And how long does that get to keep going on and on? Oh, well, you should be happy. You only make up a small percentage and you got, you've got some exposure, you
Yeah.
know? It's
Yeah.
like if you're black, we're gonna make you look like sound like a thug and everything else. You better be thankful you got some exposure,
Yeah. Exactly.
you
And
know?
I think that that's, it's the whole stereotypes of sexual, it's still also something that's, in many ways, I want to celebrate people for who they want, how they want to express themselves, whether that's flamboyant or however they like. But it is a bit disappointing when you all the time where you see,
That's all you
that's all you
that's
see on
all you
TV,
say,
right? So
right?
I think it's
Yeah.
moved better, but yeah. So
You
yeah,
know,
I think it's important to really really be conscious about this. That this acceptance and needs to stretch beyond. We need to celebrate diversity rather than fear it. And celebrate those who are different
mm,
instead of fearing that we are losing something in that process. I don't know how that came across that we were losing, our cultural heritage, our religion, whatever, because we're accepting other people. It
right.
is, it is,
Yeah. I fear of the other is a powerful thing. It's a
yeah,
powerful thing. And then when you compound that with other people being fearful and you guys are start getting together, it's very powerful.
yeah.
It's very powerful. And I just hope that one day we're not going to be afraid of the other, that we're going to be accepting of the other. And I will say that I have a lot of hope in Generation Z. I don't think we've seen a generation who's saying you're wrong mom, you're wrong dad, you're wrong teachers for treating people differently, people treating people that are different to you or have different ideologies than you poorly. and
Yeah,
i and I want to bank on that. you
yeah,
know I want to, and yeah, amen, right? I want to end it today here. We were
yeah,
going to talk about some other stuff, but I think that this is so important that you brought up today. The idea of conversion therapy, the idea of not respecting people and calling them by the pronoun that they choose to be called, to judging, being the bigotry. This is so important, and I really thank you for bringing that today to What This Is, because people need to hear it loud.
exactly. Thank you. And I think that, let's celebrate the diversity instead. That, let's applaud anyone who's different from daring to take that journey and finding themselves and owning who they really are and expressing that instead. Let's celebrate that instead of fearing that and think that we might lose something from it. I
Yeah,
think diversity is a beautiful thing. The world comes in colors.
yeah,
So let's with that instead. And with
yeah.
that, yeah, thanks a lot.
That is, I love conversations with you. I love it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on What This Is. I am KK, and this is.
I'm Lau. Remember to subscribe or email us at at gmail.com. We'd love to hear your comments and we'll hopefully see you soon again.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.